society where caste is spoken about often. But most of the time, caste is explained in a very soft way. You are told it is only about rituals. You are told it is only about purity and pollution. You are told it is only about food habits and traditions. But that explanation is incomplete. And incomplete truth is the most dangerous lie. Caste is not just about purity. Caste is about power. Caste is about control. Caste is about who decides and who obeys. If caste was only about ritual, it would have disappeared long ago. But caste survives because it controls real life. It controls land. It controls education. It controls jobs. It controls marriages. And most importantly, it controls people. Caste, it can control people. You must understand one thing clearly. Caste is not a natural system. Caste is a designed system. It is designed to keep some people permanently above and some people permanently below. This is why caste is best understood as graded inequality. Graded inequality. Not equal. Not one-time inequality. But inequality is arranged like a ladder. On the top rung, you have comfort. On the top, you have respect. On the top, you have safety. As you move down that ladder, respect reduces. Power disappears. At the bottom, dignity itself is denied. This ladder does not allow jumping. You are born into one step and you are expected to die there. Now, let's understand how this ladder is. We often hear two words, Varna and Jati. They are not the same. Varna is the broad idea. It divides society into fixed ranks, high ranks and low ranks. Jati, it is the lived reality. It decides who you marry. Jati, it decides who you marry, who you eat, where you live, what work you do. Jati is strict, Jati is local, and Jati is enforced every day, even today. The strongest rule of Jati is endogamy. Marriage within your own group. Why is marriage so important? Because marriage controls birth and birth controls caste. If you control marriage, you control the future. That is why society becomes violent. Society becomes violent when you marry outside your caste. Caste is not protected by belief alone. Caste is also protected by fear. Violence is not an accident in caste society. Violence is the system's security guard. When someone refuses to obey these rules, caste rules, violence appears. When someone wants education, violence appears. When someone wants dignity, violence appears. It is also protected by monopoly of knowledge. For centuries, knowledge was robbed. Books were guarded. Schools were closed. Learning was forbidden for certain sections of society. You must see this clearly. Education was not denied by mistake. Education was denied by design. Women were told learning is dangerous. Dalits were told learning is sinful. When knowledge is controlled, then power is permanent. Stories crime was not violence. His crime was ambition. When a tribal boy mastered archery by his own effort, his thumb was cut. Not because he was wrong, but because he was too good. When a woman asked deep questions, that woman was silenced with fear. Her voice was seen as a threat. The message was loud. The message was clear. Do not cross boundaries. Do not cross caste boundaries. Do not ask questions. Do not rise. This brings us to gender. Gender is not just about men and women. Gender is a system. Gender is a system that ranks human beings. We are taught that gender differences are natural. But this is false. What is natural that does not need force? Gender inequality, it needs rules. Gender inequality, it needs fear. It needs punishment. Patriarchy, it does not look the same everywhere. It changes with caste, it changes with region, it changes with class. If you see the upper caste women, they are controlled differently. Women are watched, women are protected, women are restricted. Their sexuality is locked. Their marriages are arranged. Their honor is guarded like property. If you see the lower caste women, they face a different cruelty. They work more, they earn less, they are exposed to sexual violence. Their bodies are not protected. They are used as tools of punishment. When a lower caste man asserts his dignity, his woman's body is targeted. This is not random. This is strategy. Women's bodies, they become battlefields. Honor becomes an excuse. Caste becomes the reason. So, we can understand this truth. Gender oppression, it is caste specific. There is no single woman's experience. There is no single patriarchy. Some women, they are controlled to preserve purity. Women are controlled to preserve purity. Then some other women, they are attacked to enforce fear. Both, they serve the same system. Caste survives. Caste survives through women, through their bodies, through their marriages, through their highlight. Now, the question is not what caste. The real question is what we will do. We cannot fight caste. We cannot fight caste by pretending it is a tradition and by pretending it is a culture. We cannot fight caste without questioning marriage rules. We cannot fight caste without challenging violence. We cannot fight caste by staying silent. Change does not begin in speeches. Change begins in choices. If you believe in equality, do it. If you believe in justice, practice it. If you believe in dignity, defend it. Defend the dignity. Do not be comfortable. Do not be comfortable with an unfair system like caste system. Comfort is how injustice survives. You have a role. You have a voice. You have responsibility. So use it. You must look deeper. You must look deeper. Not at today. Look at history. Because caste and patriarchy, they were not born yesterday. They were built slowly, step by step, rule by became property. When land became a property, power changed hands. When land mattered, lineage mattered. And when lineage mattered, women's bodies, they became important. This is where patriarchy, it took a hard shape. You must understand this clearly. Patriarchy, it did not grow alone. Patriarchy, it grows with caste. Patriarchy, it grows with class. When property passed from father to son, suddenly became necessary. Who is the real son? Who carries the bloodline? The answer was control over. Women were controlled. Women were controlled so that lineage, it stayed pure. Women were controlled so that property stayed within the group. This control was not emotional. This control was economic. This control was political. Ancient legal texts written between 2000 BC and 300 BC. They made this control official. These texts, they laid down different rules for different women. Upper caste women, they were told, stay inside, stay pure, stay obedient. Then comes lower caste women. They were told, work outside, serve others, remain vulnerable. This was not accidental. This was not accidental. This was the design. This was the design. Caste decided your status. Class decided your labor. Gender decided your freedom. Together, they formed one type. One type. Upper caste man, they owned the land. They controlled learning. They made the rules. Lower caste men, they labored on that land. They faced violence if they resisted. Women across all castes, they were placed under male control. But not equally. Not equally. Upper caste women, they were restricted in movement. Lower caste women, they were exposed to exploitation and they were exposed to assault. This is how hierarchy works. Different chains. But the prison is same. Let's see how this system was made permanent. Patriarchy, it did not survive by force alone. Patriarchy survived by institution. The first institution is marriage. Marriage was not about love. It was about control. Marriage fixed a woman's sexuality. Marriage fixed her caste. Marriage fixed her duty. We were told marriage is sacred. But ask yourself, sacred for whom? Marriage ensured that women remained inside boundaries. No choice, no exit. Then the second institution, that is control over sexuality. Women's desire was feared. Women's choice was treated as danger. Why? Because uncontrolled sexuality, it breaks caste. It breaks lineage. It breaks property chains. So, women were taught to fear their own body. Then periods, they were called impure. Desire was called shameful. Sex was not a shared act. It was a controlled act. Then the third institution, it is widowhood. If a husband died, a woman's life ended socially. She was marked. She was restricted. She was isolated. Why was remarriage discouraged? Because property. Because property, it should not move. Because lineage, it should not mix. The fourth institution, it is motherhood. Motherhood was glorified. Motherhood was glorified, but only under control. A good mother, she raised obedient children. A bad mother raised questioning children. So, the motherhood became a duty. No choice. Now, we may ask, why did women accept this? This is the hardest truth. Patriarchy, it does not survive only by punishment. Patriarchy, it survives by reward. If you obeyed, you were praised. If you conformed, you were protected. If you stayed silent, you were respected. But if you questioned, you were punished. If you questioned, you were shamed. If you questioned, you were isolated, sometimes killed. Fear trained obedience. Reward trained consent. So over time, control, it entered the mind. Women, they began to guard the system themselves. Mothers, the mothers trained their daughters. Mothers trained their daughters. Aunts, they warned their nieces. Elders, they enforced silence. This is how patriarchy reproduced itself. Not one, but every generation. You must understand this clearly. Patriarchy is not natural. Patriarchy is manufactured. It is manufactured daily through marriage talks, through family honor, through silence around the violence, through blame placed on women. History shows us the truth. Caste did not survive without patriarchy. Patriarchy did not survive without caste. Class power. Class power, it strengthened both. Now comes the most important question. What do you do with this knowledge? You cannot fight injustice. You cannot fight injustice without seeing the roots. We cannot challenge patriarchy without questioning property and without questioning caste. We cannot speak of equality by defending old traditions and controls. Change, it does not begin in laws alone. Change begins in homes. Change begins in marriages. Change begins in choices. Ask questions. Refuse silence. Break harmful traditions. Do not inherit injustice. Interrupt it. Interrupt it because systems survive when good people stay quiet. And systems fall when you say enough. So, really think patriarchy, it looks the same everywhere. Patriarchy looks the same everywhere. But it does not. It does not. Patriarchy is clever. Patriarchy is clever. It changes shape. It adjusts to place. It adjusts to caste. It adjusts to money. This is why you must stop saying Indian patriarchy is one thing. There is no single patriarchy. There are many patriarchies. In some regions, women, they work outside all day. In other regions, women are locked. Women are locked inside homes. In some castes, women's labor, it is essential for survival. In some castes, women's labor is hidden, but it is controlled. The rule is simple. Control remains. The rule is simple. Control remains, but methods change. Look at marriage practices. rules, no choice, no exit. In many lower caste communities, if you see, marriages, they appear flexible. Here, marriages, they look flexible, but women still carry double burden. Women carry double burden. They work outside, they work inside, but there is no safety. Patriarchy adapts to economy. Patriarchy adapts to economy. In agrarian regions, women work in fields. In urban areas, women work in factories, women work in homes. But wages, they remain low. Control, it remains high. Patriarchy, it does not disappear with work. It uses work. When women earn, their income is controlled. When women stay at home, their bodies are controlled. This is the truth. This is the truth we must accept. Patriarchy is not fixed. It is strategy. It bends, but does not break. So now let us talk about resistance. People did not accept this system quietly. If you see the history, in the 19th century in Maharashtra, Jyotiba Phule, he asked dangerous questions. Why are some people born superior? He asked, why are women denied education? In 1873, he founded the Satyashodhak Samaj, a truth-seeking society. He opened school for girls. He opened school for girls, including girls from oppressed caste. This was revolutionary in those days. But even reforms, they had limits. Women were included. Women were included. But patriarchy was not fully broken. In the early 20th century, Babasaheb Ambedkar, he took fight further. He exposed caste as a system of power, not as a belief. He showed how caste survives through marriage, through endogamy. He fought for women's rights in law. He drafted reforms for property and marriage. Many were blocked. Why? Because patriarchy, it protects the caste interest. It protects caste interest. In South India, if you see, Periyar, he attacked both caste and he attacked patriarchy. He attacked them openly. He rejected sacred text. He rejected sacred text. He rejected gender control. He encouraged women to reject forced marriage. He spoke against widow oppression. Even radical movements, they had blind spots. This brings us to Dalit women. Dalit women, they spoke a painful truth. Mainstream feminism, it does not see them fully. These Dalit women, they face three layers of oppression. First, caste violence from dominant caste. Second, class exploitation as laborers. Third, patriarchy within their own community. This is not theory. This is lived reality. In rural areas of India, violence against Dalit women, it is used as a punishment. It's not random. It is targeted. Statistics, they tell a harsh story. According to NCRB data, if you see crimes against Dalit women, they have risen steadily since the 1990s. Rape cases, they are not about desire. They are about dominance. Dalit women. They asked feminists. These Dalit women, they asked feminists a hard question. Whose experience are you talking about? Whose pain do you prioritize? They exposed the limits. They exposed the the limits of reform movements. Many reforms, they fought caste, ignored gender. Many reforms, they fought patriarchy, they ignored caste. Very few, they fought both together. This is why inequality survives. You must understand, we must understand this fact deeply. Partial justice, it keeps full injustice alive. You cannot fight caste and forget women. You cannot fight patriarchy and forget caste. If you do, the system adapts and the system survives. Ask yourself, when you say women's rights, which women do you mean? Women. When you say women, when you say social reform, who is missing from those social reforms? Change begins when you stop simplifying oppression. When you stop using one story for all. So, your role is listen to the most silenced voices. Question comfortable narratives. Challenge injustice, even inside movements. Do not accept easy answers. Do not repeat half-truths. Patriarchy, it survives because it adjusts. Justice must be sharper. If you want real equality, you must fight all layers together because silence is also a choice. We are often told a story that before colonial rule, before that Britishers rule, India was so peaceful that women were respected, that caste was mild, that problems came only after British entered India. This was the story. This story, it sounds comforting, but it is a false story. Let us go back to the 18th century before the British arrived in full force. Village life was tightly controlled. Village life was tightly controlled. Every person knew their place. Every caste, they had fixed duties. Every woman, they had fixed limits. Caste violence, it is already existed. It was not new. It was not routine. If a lower caste family crossed their limits, punishment followed. Social boycott, beatings, sexual violence. Women, they suffered the most. Custom, traditions, cultures, they controlled women's lives. Women's lives from birth to death. Early marriage, no right to choose a partner, no right to property. Widowhood means isolation. In many regions, widows, they shaved their heads. They wore plain clothes. They were treated as bad luck. This was not kindness. This was control. For caste women, they lived under rules of purity. Then, if you see the lower caste women, they lived under constant threat. This reality, it breaks the myth of a golden past. Myth of a golden past. There was no golden age for women. There was hierarchy, there was fear. Now, let us move to the colonial period after 1757, when British rule expanded. Colonialism, it did not destroy caste. It reshaped because the British wanted order. The British wanted order. They wanted records. They wanted control. So they began counting people. In 1871, the first All India census, it was conducted. Again in 1881, then in 1901. Caste identities, they were written down. Caste identities were frozen. They were categorized. Fluid social identities, they became fixed labels. The British relied on upper caste for administration, clerks, teachers, lawyers. But this reinforced old hierarchy. Then land revenue system. Land revenue systems like Jamindari, it strengthened dominant caste. Then lower caste, they became landless laborers. Colonial law, it spoke of equality, but unfortunately, social power, it stayed unequal. Social reform movements, they emerged this time. Reformers, they questioned caste discrimination. They attacked superstitions. They promoted education. But the truth is uncomfortable. Here the truth is uncomfortable. Many reforms, they ignored women's autonomy. They improved women's status as daughters and wives, but not as independent individuals. Widows remarriage was discussed, but control over women's sexuality remained. Reforms, they were selective. Caste was questioned. Patriarchy stayed. At the same time, something powerful was happening. Modern Dalit consciousness, it was emerging. Education, it became a weapon. Schools and colleges, they created new thinkers, new leaders, and they created new coachings. Dalits, they began writing their own histories, their own pain, their own resistance. Anti-caste politics, they took shape in the early 20th century, demanding dignity, demanding rights, and education. It shifted power. But access was unequal. Upper caste, they dominated universities. Upper caste, they dominated universities. Lower caste people, they faced barriers. Barriers like financial issues, long wage, discrimination. Still, education cracked the system. Colonialism, it created contradiction. It gave law and order, but still it protected this caste hierarchy. This era, it introduced education, but with limited access. It spoke of reforms, but relied on old elites. So, we can understand here, caste and patriarchy, they did not begin with colonialism. They existed before. Colonial rule, it did not just end them. This rule recognized them. The struggle against caste, the struggle against gender oppression, it became sharper, it became more political, more visible. So, history teaches us one lesson. Oppression, it adapts to time. Resistance must adapt faster. Do not romanticize the past. Do not blame only the present. Look at structures. Question the power. Your responsibility is not to repeat myths. Your responsibility is to face the truth. Learn history honestly. Support education. Stand with the oppressed. Because justice does not arrive by accident. Justice arrives when you choose it. So, let's choose it. Let's choose now. Because we live in modern India. Today, we use smartphones. We travel fast. We hear words like progress. We hear words like development. But ask yourself one question. Has equality equality arrived in our society? The answer is no. Because caste did not disappear. Caste did not disappear with this modernity. The caste learned new ways to survive. The strongest proof is endogamy, marriage within the same caste. Even today, more than 90% of marriages in India, they happen within the same caste. This is not coincidence. This is the control. Education increased, cities expanded, jobs changed, but the rules for marriage, they stayed rigid. Why? Because marriage protects caste and caste protects power. Now look at what happens when someone breaks this rule. In our country, if couple break this rule, young couples are hunted. Young couples are hunted not by strangers, but by families. If they break this wedding caste rule, these are called honor killings. But there is no honor in killing, only fear. Most victims are from oppressed caste. Most killers, they belong to dominant caste. Most such brutal murders, they happen even today in 2020. The message is clear. Do not cross caste boundaries or pay with your life. Let us look at violence against Dalit. This violence is not random. It follows a pattern. When a Dalit community asserts rights, women are targeted. Rape, it becomes punishment. Public humiliation, it becomes warning. Crimes against Dalit women, it has steadily increased since ages. Many cases, they go unreported. Many cases, they collapse in court. Why? Because power decides justice. Dominant caste, they control land. Dominant caste controls land. They control local politics. They influence police. They influence police stations. They shape investigations. When a complaint is filed, delays happen, evidence disappears, witnesses are threatened. This is what state complicity looks like. Not always direct violence, but silence. Silence is a weapon. Delay is a weapon. Inaction is a weapon. We see it clearly. The state, it promises equality, but unfortunately, ground reality shows hierarchy. Caste violence is not only physical, it is political. Dominant caste, they use violence to maintain control. They send messages through women's bodies. This is the darkest. Women's bodies, they become battleground. Their pain, it becomes public lesson. Sexual violence, it is used to restore order, to remind communities of their place. This is why caste violence is gendered. Men are punished. Men are punished through women. Communities are disciplined through shame. Modern law exists. Modern courts, they exist. But unfortunately, justice moves slowly. Power moves fast. So ask yourself, Is this a failure of tradition or a failure of courage? Today, we cannot say caste is private. We cannot say violence is personal. In the present scenario, these are political acts. They protect a hierarchy. So, we have a role here. Do not normalize silence. Do not excuse honoring murder. Do not treat rape as isolated crime. Question the power. Demand accountability. Stand with the victims. Change does not come from technology alone. Change comes from our moral choice. Modern India, it will remain unequal until we refuse to accept injustice as normal. The future is watching. The future is watching our response. So, let us choose courage today. Let us choose justice today. Let us choose humanity